A German machine gunner scans a hedgerow. Nothing moves. No shapes, no silhouettes, no glint of a helmet. And yet, bullets are landing near his position. Somewhere out there, Americans are shooting at him. He just can't find them. This isn't a story about a secret weapon. It's a story about two armies that learned to see the battlefield in completely different ways, and why that difference decided who lived and who didn't. To understand why American riflemen seem to disappear, you first need to understand what a German soldier expected combat to look like. The Wehrmacht inherited a European tradition built on maneuver and firepower, a battlefield where the enemy could be located, fixed, and destroyed. German marksmen were some of the best in the world. Their training assumed one simple thing, that a target would eventually show itself. On the Eastern Front, it usually did. Soviet units often attacked in mass formations, across open ground, in conditions where a sharpshooter could work all day. Doctrine and terrain agreed with each other. It was brutal, and it was effective. Then those same veteran marksmen came west, and the rules stopped making sense. The United States Army that landed in Europe had been rebuilt almost from scratch, shaped by hard lessons from North Africa and from the British. And one lesson got hammered into every single recruit. Don't be seen. Cover. Concealment. Staying low. Spreading out. These weren't advanced tactics saved for elite units. They were basic training, drilled into every rifleman from day one. So, a German scanning an American position often saw exactly what he was meant to see: an empty field, a quiet hedge line, nothing moving. But the Americans were there, dug in, prone, tucked into every fold the ground offered. They just refused to look like soldiers standing in a line. Nowhere did this play out more sharply than the Bocage of Normandy. Centuries-old farmland, chopped into small fields, each one boxed in by thick earthen banks and tangled hedges. For the Germans, it looked like a gift. Set up at the corners, cover the gaps, wait. And at first, that worked. Americans came through the obvious openings and paid for it. But they adapted fast. They stopped using the gaps. They blew holes straight through the hedge banks. They crawled the drainage ditches. They moved along the base of the hedgerows, where nobody up top could see a thing. A rifleman pressed flat into the base of a hedge, wearing gear built to blend into the dirt and the leaves, was functionally invisible from 30 yards away. He could sit there and watch a German position for an hour. And when he finally fired, the sound bounced off the earth and the banks in a way that made it almost impossible to trace. German after-action reports from this period say the same thing. Over and over. Fire from positions that could not be identified. An enemy that felt like it was everywhere and nowhere. And here's the trap. Inside the trap. The second a German marksman fired to solve the mystery, he gave himself away. And the hidden Americans, fast-firing rifles, radios, artillery on call, made him pay for that mistake. The hunter had become the hunted. Most of them never figured out exactly when it happened. Now, hiding well doesn't win battles by itself. Plenty of armies have hidden and still lost. What made this dangerous was what the American rifleman could unleash the moment he decided to be seen. Start with the rifle. The M1 Garand was the first semi-automatic rifle issued as standard to an entire army. A German with his bolt-action Kar 98K fired, worked the bolt, re-aimed, fired again, a deliberate rhythm. The American just pulled the trigger, 8 times, as fast as he could aim. To a German pinned down by a couple of hidden riflemen, that volume of fire looked like a much bigger force than it actually was. But the real weapon wasn't the rifle. It was what stood behind it. A single scout, hidden in a tree line, wasn't just a rifleman. He was a set of eyes with a radio. He could call in mortars, then artillery, sometimes aircraft, onto a position he'd spotted. all while staying completely hidden himself. That flips the entire German mental model upside down. Their doctrine said the sharpshooter was the apex predator of the battlefield. Patient, unseen, decisive. But the American didn't need to win a shooting duel. He just needed to see the German first, stay hidden a little longer, and make one radio call. A rifle bullet against a battery of 105mm howitzers. That's not a fair fight. That was the whole point. As the front moved east, into the Hürtgen Forest, into the Ardennes, up against the Siegfried Line, the terrain kept changing. Dense woods, snow-covered ridges, shattered towns. But the pattern didn't change at all. Spread out, dug in, hidden until the exact moment of decision, seen only in the muzzle flash, right before the shells started falling. Now, let's be fair about what this was, and what it wasn't. The American soldier wasn't superhuman, and the German marksman wasn't a fool. In a lot of ways, individual German infantrymen were still exceptional at small unit fieldcraft. Americans paid a brutal price learning these lessons, and they kept paying it right up to the end of the war. This wasn't a magic trick that made anyone bulletproof. It was a genuine gap in understanding, and in war, understanding is everything. The German army had built its entire picture of combat around a battlefield where the enemy could eventually be found. Its finest marksmen were the product of that picture, and they ran headlong into an army that had quietly thrown the premise out. An army that decided the first rule of survival was simple: don't give the enemy anything to shoot at. So the German expert kept scanning the empty field, the silent hedge, the tree line, with nothing moving in it. He knew the Americans were out there. He could hear them. He could feel their fire landing. He'd spent years training to win a duel. He was never actually given one.